you know what a balloon is, Terry. I'm like, yeah, I know what a balloon is. You know what a dirigible is, right? And she goes and she gets we had a 1-volume encyclopedia at home, and she's showing me pictures of airplanes and jets. And I'm like, no, Mom, no, nothing like that. And finally, she hands me a piece of paper and a pencil, and she says, well, can you draw it? And I said, of course I can draw it. And I drew a circle, and I handed it back to her, and I said, yeah, that's what I saw. And she said, you will not tell people that you saw a flying saucer. They'll think there's something wrong with you. They'll think there's something wrong with us. And that's that mentality from the 60s, too.
No, it's not just the 60s, because I started talk radio, Terry, in 76, and I didn't hear anything to the early 80s, and a lot of people were scared to come forward because they were scared what other people would think. And now it's changed. I mean, if one of my grandkids came and told me I saw a UFO, I'm going to ask a whole bunch of questions. I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, it was a weather balloon, Yeah.
Yeah. Don't tell me what I saw. I know what I saw.
Well, going now when you got older, did you see anything else than UFOs or aliens or anything like that before you went into the military?
I did. I only had 2 experiences as a child that I can recall. That was the one when I was 8 years old, and then when I was about 11, in 1966, we had a 2-story brick, like a row house. And my room was on the 2nd floor, across from my sister's room. And it had been a normal evening. I didn't watch anything spooky on TV or anything, just a normal routine weeknight evening. And, my mom came in, did the bedtime ritual, kiss you goodnight and all that stuff, brush your teeth. And I went to bed, went to sleep, no problem. And I woke up, and I had no idea. I didn't have there were no digital clocks that I can recall then. I had no idea what time it was. I had a clock in my room, but I didn't look at it. And there were these crazy lights coming through my window. And they were orange and green and white and almost an amber color, not quite red. And they were just brilliant flashes of light. And I thought, gotta be a fire truck. Holy cow, there must be a fire somewhere. And I thought it odd because, our dog, normally if there's something going on like this, dog would be up and, making a racket and barking. But the house was quiet. And I went over to the window and I pulled back the drapes. It was winter. It was after Christmas, like February. All the Christmas stuff had been put away, so it wasn't Christmas lights or anything. And it was just really bitterly cold outside. And I pulled back the drapes, and then we had Venetian blinds. And I opened the Venetian blinds, and outside my 2nd-story window was a UFO. And it could have been the same. It could have been the same one I saw in 1963, 3 years earlier. It was, and I remember thinking, cool, I get to see the top side of it. And it was circular, and it had a dome in the middle, and and that's where the lights were coming from. The lights were flashing, and it hurt my eyes to look at it. The lights were coming directly from the dome on top of the saucer, and it was so close. There, I could have opened my window and walked out and stepped on it.
Oh wow!
And there was an odd fog underneath the thing and around it. And I thought, my God, everybody in the neighborhood has to see this, And I remember that I had my hands on the curtains. And what I did was I took the curtains and I tucked them into the Venetian blinds so that I could have my hands free and watch it. And I watched it for a while. And then I just felt satisfied. I don't know how to explain it. I just felt satisfied, and I turned around and went back to bed. Climbed in my bed and went to sleep. And went to sleep immediately. And I woke up the next morning and had no memory of it until I turned to looked at the window and I saw the Venetian blind, and I thought, oh my God, yeah, I remember.
Now,
Did you
tell
I went downstairs for breakfast. Go ahead. You want to ask a question?
Yeah, did you tell your parents about that encounter?
Sure. I learned something. I learned 3 years earlier that adults don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. So I took a different tact. What I did was I said, hey, anybody see those lights? I'm at the kitchen table for breakfast, right? Anybody see those lights last night? Must have been a fire truck, huh? Anybody? No? Nobody? No? And I kept it to myself.
Interesting.
I wasn't about to subject myself to that again.
Yeah, I certainly would. Hey, now we're going to have to go on break. We're going to be back in about 3.5 minutes, Terry. So I'm gonna mute you for about 3.5 minutes. Go get a cup of tea or something to drink, and we'll be back with Terry Lovelace, and we're going to get down and dirty about what happened in 1977 here on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. So stay tuned.
Maggot was a biker and drove his motorcycle very fast. Drove a big chop Harley with a gang color jacket and ran down Citizens for laughs. He had an old lady named Petula who packed an automatic 45 gun. They had just come up from California where they'd shot 6 cops for fun. Jake, he thought it was the best there was. He's down the interstate he saw till the day he tangled with the county sheriff who they all called 104. It was late on a Thursday evening, and Jake, he was feeling kind of mean, cause he'd just run out of his favorite drug, the one called amphetamine. So he sauntered up to Petula, and he said, say, baby, let's split. There's a little gas station on down the road that might be fun to hit. So they drove up to the station, and they both jumped off of Jake's ride. They were up to derision at Jake's decision as they both sauntered to the inside. The attendant, he was an old man, and he didn't think it very funny. When Petula pulled out that great big gun, said, honey, give me all your money. Well, the old man opened up the cash drawer, and Jake grabbed the money and ran. With Petula out the door to the big chop Harley that was parked on the center kickstand. Then they headed out for the 4-lane, and they thought it was lots of fun. With Jake on his hog, with Petula the dog, with the automatic 45 gun. He thought it was the best there was. He's down the interstate he saw till the day he tangled with the county sheriff who they all call 104. Didn't think it very humorous, and he didn't like to get sassed, cause just that morning he'd had a cup of coffee with a cop named Pendergrast. But the old man had a lot of sense, and he knew just exactly what to do. He dropped a dime in the phone till he got the dial tone, and he talked to operator 42. Operator 42, she was the best, and she gave out the description of Jake the maggot with the gang color jacket and Petula with the 45 gun. Now,
do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. Our guest tonight is Terry Lovelace. He's been on several times before, but tonight we're going to dig deep into this because you know what? Of all the people I've ever had on the show, it really concerns me. If these abductions are going on with humans, well, I think that we are really, and we should be really concerned. You know, every year, the FBI, law enforcement says it's 40 to 50 people vanishing, 40 to 50,000, I should say, vanishing without a trace. And they're not putting this under murder. They're not putting it under homicide. That it's people simply vanishing. Now, you figure this going on year after year after year. It is scary. And then when you think about the national park system, the national park police, they do, well, I hate to use the word, a half blankety blank investigation, and they don't want to release any information. Something is going on here, and it's time we open our eyes up to realize we're not the only campers in the campground. Terry, are you still with us?
Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm right with you. You know, David Politis has done a great job of shining light on that and bringing that forth. That the amount of people that go missing in national parks and state parks, and I think I might have an idea where they go.
Well, where do you think they're going, Terry?
I think that they take cattle, and you know, the cattle mutilations that's not stopped. That's active in the West to this day.
Oh yeah,
and that's never been explained.
You know, this recently, a famous pathologist, and I wrote his name down, but unlike typical me, I misplaced it. You know, these ones in Oregon, he came to a conclusion after investigating a lot of these, you know, cattle mutilations, that they are alive when this is going on. When they remove their eyes, you got liquid between your brain and your eyes. And if they were been already dead and laying on their side, the liquid from their brain would have ran off the side of their face. It's not the case. It's running off their nostrils, so he claims that these poor cattle are standing when this is starting to go on. And you think this has been going on for hundreds of years. There's not just sitting there trying to figure out what makes a cow or a bull function. There's something, along with human mutilations, they want, and that is where we're bypassing the whole picture here.
You know, in the back of my book, I give an email address, and I say, if you've had a weird experience and you want to share it with me, you know, please send it to me. And Gary, I've got over 1,200 emails from people, and one of those came from an Air Force, a person who claimed to be an Air Force pilot, and I believe him. He used, you know, I spent 6 years in the Air Force. I know the jargon. He knew all the right buzzwords, and he told me that he was a helicopter pilot, and that he was stationed in Montana, and that they had his job was to go out, and he said there were two scientists that would go with him, and they never talked, never had any conversation, and they fly out to a cattle mutilation scene, land the helicopter, and sometimes they take along it'd be him and not a co-pilot, but just another guy there to help with the lifting. And they go out, and these two scientists would meet a farmer, and we're at the scene of a cattle mutilation. And he swore that there were never any footprints, never any disturbance in the ground. He said these things were dropped out of the sky. And he said there's never a drop of blood. He said the carcasses weighed nothing. You know, they bagged them, and he helped bag them. And the scientists would talk to the farmer, the rancher, and then hand him an envelope. You know, which I assume would be money. I don't know. And then they hack up the carcass and